for me personally, my character never try to attack my character. They'll say he a rat or he just a snap.
Yeah.
All you got.
When people want to take shots at you, they'll often go after your reputation first. Even in my own case, that's exactly what happened. Folks try to tear down my character, throwing around labels, calling me a rat or accusing me of things that never happened. But the truth is, all you need to do is look at the paperwork. I've never told on anyone, not once in my life. My name shows up in certain cases, sure, but when you dig into the details, you'll see who actually cooperated and who didn't. At the end of the day, guilty or innocent, a citizen or a so-called criminal, the facts are the facts. The only time anything like that could be said is when you're literally asked on the stand, "Did you see such and such do this?" Outside of that, there's nothing there. But the streets don't always deal in facts. They deal in perception. And once someone decides to stick a label on you, it's nearly impossible to shake. If you know anything about 50 Cent, you already understand he's not the kind of man you want to go back and forth with. He has a sharp tongue, endless wit, and a way of keeping the crowd entertained while burying his opponents in the process. T found himself learning that lesson the hard way when 50 became one of the loudest voices amplifying the snitching whispers that had been hanging over T.I.'s career for years. That rumor turned into a storm cloud following him everywhere he went. It cost him the respect of peers, cast doubt in the eyes of fans, and left the streets whispering his name in the worst ways. And instead of letting the fire burn out, 50 kept tossing fuel onto the flames, reminding people at every turn of that Crime Stoppers commercial and those court cases. T tried to play it cool at first, pretending none of it fazed him. But eventually, enough was enough. Instead of ignoring the shots, he took a swing back. He publicly challenged 50 to a 20-track battle, and just to make things extra spicy, he did it on 50's birthday. That move didn't just escalate the situation, it practically guaranteed 50 wouldn't let things slide. And true to form, 50 hit back by reposting the infamous 2008 Crime Stoppers PSA, the one where T told viewers to call the tip line if they had information on crimes. The internet erupted instantly. Memes flooded timelines, fans cracked jokes, and T became a trending topic for all the wrong reasons. The irony in all this is that T and 50 weren't always at odds. Years back, they were cool, working together, trading respect, and both sitting comfortably at the top of the rap game. But once that snitch narrative got tied to Tip's name, it never really left. With 50 refusing to bury it, Tip found himself constantly defending his credibility, no matter how much success he achieved in music or beyond. And then new rumors started swirling, claiming T was supposed to land the role of Davis McLean in Power, the sharp attorney eventually played by Method Man. Word on the street was that 50 himself blocked the opportunity because of their history. T tried to stamp that out quickly, going public to call it all fake news and insisting that he and 50 had mutual respect. But the thing is, 50 never confirmed or denied a word. His silence only gave people more to speculate about, making them wonder if T had really been frozen out of the circle. During an interview, T was asked point blank about the rumors, and he downplayed everything. He said he and 50 were actually working as executive producers on a separate project outside of Power, and that the two of them had a kind of rough and tumble relationship that outsiders didn't really understand. According to him, they respected each other's unfiltered approach, and there was no animosity. But for many fans, the big question remained, why does T still carry this reputation that refuses to die, and why has 50 made it a mission to keep poking at it? The root of it all lies in that 2007 case. At the time, T was facing serious federal weapons charges. The stakes were massive. He was staring down the possibility of 20 years behind bars. In the middle of all that, he appeared in a Crime Stoppers commercial, encouraging citizens to step up and help stop crime. Maybe, from his perspective, it was a way to clean up his public image or show good faith in court. But to the rap world, it looked like the ultimate violation. Street credibility depends on never siding with law enforcement, no matter the circumstances. Overnight, that commercial branded him with the snitch label, and it stuck. And no one amplified it louder than 50. He mocked it, brought it up in interviews, used it in songs, and made sure it stayed alive in the culture's memory. It wasn't just online trolling either. 50 took the feud into the booth. On G-Unit's You So Tough, he rapped lines clearly aimed at T. questioning how someone could get caught with 10 machine guns and end up with only a year. He implied the only way such a light sentence could happen was if somebody was giving up information. The whole industry listened closely, and many couldn't help but wonder the same thing. T had been arrested after his own bodyguard, who turned out to be working as an informant, delivered him machine guns and silencers in exchange for cash. As a convicted felon, T wasn't even supposed to be near a gun, let alone purchasing a small arsenal. Yet despite the seriousness of the charges, he walked away with a sentence that included house arrest, community service, and a short prison stint that shocked many. To 50 and plenty of others, it didn't add up. Even when pressed in interviews, 50 played coy, letting the audience connect the dots without saying T.I.'s name directly. But the damage was already done. The streets were buzzing, and T couldn't escape the whispers. When asked about it, T tried to remain calm, even giving 50 the benefit of the doubt. But at that time, with federal agents still monitoring him closely, he couldn't risk going too hard in retaliation. He had bigger battles to fight. Still, beef like that never really dies. It might go quiet for a while, but it always resurfaces. And that's exactly what happened in 2020, right when the culture was already talking nonstop about snitching because of Tekashi 6ix multiplied by 9 in his court case. The old Crime Stoppers video resurfaced online, dragging T right back into the fire. The timing couldn't have been worse. Once again, 50 jumped on it immediately, clowning him online, posting jokes, and making sure people remembered. He even said the first song he'd play in a Versus battle with T would be "You So Tough." He doubled down by reposting the Crime Stoppers video alongside the diss track audio, connecting the dots for anyone who might have forgotten. T didn't sit quietly this time. He fired back online, denying any cooperation, denying ever helping law enforcement, and even turning the heat on 50 by suggesting he might have skeletons of his own. He wrote long captions challenging 50 to prove he was squeaky clean, while at the same time throwing down the gauntlet for a Versus battle. He mocked 50's catalog, called it outdated and overrated, and declared himself ready to bury it once and for all. That energy showed how much the accusations had gotten under his skin. Clearly, 50 had hit a nerve. The back and forth spilled into interviews and Instagram lives. T kept bringing up the Crime Stoppers clip, defending himself, and trying to reframe the narrative. But then 50 turned up the pressure again. He posted his own warning, telling T it would be better if he kept his distance. It was a line that made the feud feel more dangerous than playful. Things got even more heated after the tragic death of King Von in 2020. T made a post urging people not to bring their violence to Atlanta, telling outsiders to keep their beefs in their own cities. His intention may have been to protect his hometown, but many took it as a shot at Von and his camp. Von's sister clapped back hard, and 50 stepped in once again, amplifying her words and adding his own sharp critique. He told T he was playing with fire, that people were hurting, and that this wasn't the time for slick comments. It was another moment where 50 checked Tip publicly, showing he wasn't letting go of the tension anytime soon. After that, fresh rumors reignited about T.I.'s role and power. Cast members claimed he had originally been lined up to play Davis McLean before being replaced by Method Man, fueling speculation that 50 had iced him out. T jumped on a podcast to shut it down, insisting it wasn't true and that he and 50 still had mutual respect. But once again, 50 said nothing. And with him, silence isn't peace, it's strategy. He doesn't forget, and he doesn't forgive. He waits, reloads, and strikes when the moment is right. Fans remain divided about the entire saga. Some argue that T.I.'s light sentence speaks for itself, pointing out how others have gotten a decade or more for a single gun, while T skated with a slap on the wrist despite being caught with an arsenal. To them, the whole situation smells like cooperation, whether direct or indirect. Others, however, flip the narrative back on 50, suggesting he doesn't have the cleanest record himself. For them, this feud is just one man with power using his platform to drag another. In the end, the war between T and 50 Cent doesn't feel like one that will ever truly end. The accusations, the Crime Stoppers ad, the diss tracks, the online posts, they've all become part of hip-hop history. And with 50's personality, it's never about if he'll revisit old beefs, it's about when. He, for his part, continues to defend his name and legacy, but the shadow of those accusations lingers no matter what he does. The culture remains split, and the debate about whether Tip really earned that snitch label continues to spark arguments. What's certain is that as long as 50 keeps the conversation alive, Tip will never fully escape it. And knowing 50, he wouldn't have it any other way.